You may have heard that you can now get a 12-month prescription in New Zealand. And what I want to do in this video is explain exactly what this means for you, and if you're a busy professional, what you can do to save time, money and unnecessary admin. I'm Dr Jo Tooby. I'm a working GP in New Zealand, and what I'm sharing here isn't personal medical advice, but it is about how the system works so you can understand it and use it more effectively. So who are the 12-month prescriptions actually for? Well, in theory, they could be for anyone, but of course in reality it does come down to clinical stability and safety. So for two people on the same medication for the same condition, it's not necessarily clinically safe for both of them to be on 12-month prescriptions. Take, for example, blood pressure medication. Someone who's been at the same dose for years with stable readings, who is seen annually, would usually be a good candidate. And from a GP perspective, it's even more reassuring if the patient is actively involved. So, for example, if someone says, I have a home blood pressure monitor, I know how to use it, I know what my target blood pressure is, and I'll check my readings regularly, and if I'm consistently above my target or I'm significantly above my target on a few occasions, I'll book an appointment and come in for a review straight away. Well, that tells me that's someone who's taking responsibility for their health, which makes longer prescribing much safer. So for the right patient, this change could be very empowering. It allows patients to move away from a purely paternalistic model and towards shared responsibility without compromising safety. Some people, through no fault of their own, do need closer follow-up, but where someone's condition is stable, longer prescribing often makes sense. Now, I would just like to touch on a reality check that does often get missed in the headlines. In my own practice, if I only need to see a patient once a year, that's already what I do. I'm not calling people in every 3 months just to rewrite the same prescription just for the fun of it. So for my patients whose conditions are already stable, and where I've said to them, hey, look, let's just do an annual medication review, this new 12-month prescription change doesn't actually change anything in terms of appointments. So it won't reduce the number of appointments because I wasn't conducting those appointments anyway for those patients. But you might be at a practice where they do call you in every 3 months. So it does depend, it will save you appointments if you're actually at a practice where they call you in every 3 months regardless. So I can't guarantee it will actually save you appointments because it depends how your practice was managing those appointments in the first place. But it does change the admin burden for you as the patient and also the cost. So take my example of the patient who's got very stable blood pressure. I only need to see them once a year anyway. They now won't have to ring up every 3 months to request a repeat prescription. So they won't need to worry about running out of their prescription, and they won't need to constantly keep track of when to request the next 3-month prescription. And of course it will also save them money, both in terms of the repeat prescription fee at the practice and also the pharmacy co-payments. So this isn't really about fewer necessary medical reviews. Well, certainly not in my practice. It won't actually make any difference to how often I'm seeing my patients, but it's certainly going to create a simpler system. It's more predictable and it's less frustrating if you're one of those patients who does meet the right criteria. So if you are a busy professional and you're interested in a 12-month prescription, you think it might be right for you, given what I've just said, then my advice would be this: book a specific appointment with your GP to discuss it. I'd be upfront about the fact you've booked the appointment specifically to talk about whether or not a 12-month prescription is appropriate for you, and be clear that you share the same goal as your GP, which is, your health and safety comes as the priority. So don't go in expecting to get the 12-month prescription, is what I'm saying. Go in for a discussion, because ultimately it is about your well-being and your safety, and your prescriber will definitely need to be happy that it's a safe prescription. I would also encourage you to show that you're engaged, that you're taking your medication consistently as prescribed, and that you're monitoring where appropriate and where you've been advised to do so. Also, that you're willing to proactively seek review. If something changes or you've got any concerns at all, you must reach out to your GP. That approach puts you and your GP on the same page and respects both your time in the long run and your doctor's responsibility for safe prescribing. Used well, I do think this change can save time, reduce hassle and lower costs for people with stable long-term conditions. So if you found this video helpful, I've got other videos on my channel about navigating the New Zealand health system more efficiently. I'd be really keen to hear if you've got any questions about the 12-month prescriptions, or if you've got any topics you'd like me to cover, please leave a comment below.